And we're live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our audience in our education centre here, and big welcome to all our people at home watching our first live Cuppa Chat. So, kind of excited with this. This is a unique experience, and we're going to spend 2 hours just talking about all things sewing and embroidery. So I've already done my sort of housekeeping with my audience here in the studio. So to all you folks at home, thanks for joining us. My name's Gary Walker and you are with Echidna Sewing. Now I know there's people from all over the world watching this video, so we're very excited by that. And it's all about just talking about fun things that drive our industry and the things that are new for us here at Echidna, new in the industry, and also just giving you hopefully some inspiration to keep on enjoying your embroidery experience. Now, what I would like to say before we get into this is today is a very special day for me. So I haven't actually made this announcement, and my staff don't even know about it yet. But when I chose the date, what's the date? The 26th of May for this Cuppa Chat, our first virtual Cuppa Chat, it has a bit of significance for me because it's exactly 40 years ago today that I started my first job in the sewing industry. So 40 years today, yeah. It's been a fun ride, and I have seen so much stuff come and go, so much technology. I have not regretted a minute of it, and hopefully I've got a lot more time in the industry. So my wife says, when am I retiring? I don't think that's ever going to happen. I hope she's not watching, because I'll be in trouble. So anyway, let's get into it. Cuppa Chat, again, there's no rules. It's just a fun 2 hours of just discussing everything to do with sewing, embroidery and craft, anything that we can bring up, of course. And I do have a little list of things that I'm going to talk about, and hopefully I'll get through them all. But I will encourage everyone, whether you're in the audience here or whether you're at home, if you have questions about anything we're talking about, please do bring them up. If you're at home, please post the question on whatever forum you're watching us on, and our team here will let me know what the question is. And we'll do our best to get to answer those. Some may be a bit deeper than we will get the time to do here in this Cuppa Chat, but we will come back to you anyway, or endeavour to answer any questions that do come up. So with that said, I am going to follow my notes, because if I don't, I will digress. And my audience here in the studio know that I don't mind chatting, so and it can get away from me. I'm just going to move that over a little bit so I can pop that down here. The very first thing I should do is welcome my team. So I'm going to be ably assisted here today with Rachel. Rachel is one of our senior support and education specialists, and she'll be handing over the questions to me as they come up, hopefully, and we do encourage that too, so make sure they do come in. And Rachel's done a great job at managing our education centre and our virtual classes, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Before I do, though, just to recap on the last year, obviously we all know it's been a tough year. I don't need to go through all that. Everyone knows what's gone on. And there's no silver lining to anything like the experiences we've had with COVID. But the one thing that has happened is the sewing industry has absolutely gone crazy. So in 40 years, and I can qualify that now because it is exactly 40 years today, I have never seen so much activity in the home sewing market. You know, I started as an industrial sewing machine mechanic back in 1981, just shy of 16 years old. So I know nothing more than sewing machines. That's all I've done for 40 years. And the technology, as I mentioned before, has gone crazy. But right now, people are coming back to sewing in droves because, hey, what else are you going to do, right, when you're stuck at home for 12 months? And I think that pretty much applies all over the world. So it has been a real shot in the arm for the sewing and craft industry, and other industries too, of course. I don't care about them. It's only the sewing industry I'm really worried about. And of course, our last Cuppa Chat that we had here was back in, was it December, Rachel? I think it was December. We tried to do another one in April, but then COVID lockdowns, that kind of killed it. And so we haven't had this opportunity as much as we would like to. But you know, the Cuppa Chat days that we do, like today, started something like 15 years ago, and we started. Was anyone here at our original? Yeah, so it was about 10 people around a little table, and it grew to being fully booked out events every month, and we ran out of parking, all the things that went wrong with that. So I think delivering this virtually is going to be great, so we can get to, we can share the messages and all the things we want to talk about with a much wider audience, which is going to be cool. Okay, so the year in review, as I mentioned, it's been a tough one for many people. And I can honestly say that sewing and embroidery has saved people's sanity. Does anyone know anyone that has, without their sewing machine, their embroidery machine, would have struggled? Is there, like, yeah, I mean, most of you guys, exactly. And I'm sure a lot of you at home, that was your retreat. So wherever you are in the world, I'm sure you've experienced all the same things that people here in Australia have as well. So and I mentioned before, there's no silver lining to any of this, but the number of people that have got back into sewing is incredible. We have never, ever been busier. And it means that there's a lot of new young people coming back into the market, and all our local folks here know how much we try and push that message to get a young person involved in sewing. So if you're a young person, you've just joined and you're here for the first time, welcome. Hope you're enjoying the industry and the craft. It's certainly meant that we've grown and changed a lot. So part of our business structure now is definitely the virtual classes and education and these sorts of days like today. So much so that we've invested heavily this year in, and last year of course, in a video production studio. And it's what is allowing us to be more proactive with the virtual classes. And of course that lets me bring in or introduce our affectionately named camera guy, Flynn, who's running all this down the back there. Hey Flynn, thanks for all the hard work getting this all set up. So Flynn is actually a qualified a professional videographer, so that makes it much easier to do all these things if you've got the right technology and most importantly the right people to do it. So definitely investing in that area, which is important for us. We've completed our head office renovations, so we're all sitting here in this lovely new education centre, which we haven't been able to use to its full extent because of COVID. But that's going to come, I'm sure, when whatever that new normal is down the track. We'll be definitely getting way more education going on in here. But of course, feeding it and streaming it live or by video is going to be important to us as well. The video studio, which I've already mentioned, is also going to support a lot more quick things. So if people have a question, if you at home have a question, you're not working something out and you just need some help, if you call us or contact us, email us, whatever it is, and outline the problem that you're having, it's very quick for us and easy for us to go and do a quick video and pop it up, because if you have a question, chances are there's loads of other people who have the same question. And you know what? We always say this, there's never a question that's too silly. Who's ever sat in an audience or you've been, will I ask that question or won't I? And you're too scared to. I will bet my bottom dollar there's someone sitting probably right beside you that has the same question. And if nobody asks, we don't know. So please feed those questions through, and where we can and it makes sense to do a video to show that, we'll create a video, and then it's up online forever, and it makes it easier for us too, because the next time we get asked that question, we can just directly link people to a video. We do that all the time. So the resources we have available to us now as an industry are incredible. I mean, if we all cast our mind back 10, 15 years, imagine having all the information at our fingertips back then that we have now on YouTube or whatever the forum is. So our video studio is really important to us. On a more local basis in Australia, and I'll just quickly talk about this, we commissioned our new mobile sewing machine workshop only a few weeks ago. And currently, Mark is like, he has run off his feet. He's up in Cairns or Townsville at the moment. This new workshop that we have is incredible. I wish I could send it everywhere. I can't. Sorry guys in New Zealand, I can't send it over there. We haven't worked out how to get a boat done yet, but I'm sure if we could, we would. But the mobile workshop is allowing us to get to a lot more people for servicing, because it is getting tough to find technicians in this industry. And so that's another investment we've made, which we're very, very excited by. Another big one for us is we have just signed a new lease on another warehouse. So most of our locals will know we took a warehouse across the road just recently to double our warehouse capacity, and that was about a year ago. Guess what? We're doubling it again because we've run out of space and we do want to carry more product, and we do want to make sure we offer a more rounded experience, particularly for our online customers. So you guys at home, if you don't have the option of getting to a store, we are going to be expanding our product range very significantly of sewing products and other associated products that will make it a more rounded experience for everyone. And of course, all those things will then fall into our Platinum membership, so there'll be great pricing, rewards points, and all those things that go with it. So really excited by that. And that lease we take over on the 1st of July, right opposite the road, and moving from the warehouse we took a year ago to this bigger warehouse. and just throwing lots of money at it. So hopefully it's going to work. I'm sure it will. We're looking forward to expanding our range greatly. We're already talking to other key industry suppliers to make sure that we've got a huge range of products available online. So that's exciting. And whoa, that's about all I needed to talk to there. Oh, and a little shout out to our folks in North Queensland. Thanks for joining us if you're up there. As you know, we've changed our structure up there, but a big thank you to Leanne in Townsville, who's doing a great job as our agent up there now, and we'll be expanding on that soon. So, but thanks, Leanne. I'm sure you're watching. All right, so what I want to talk about now is virtual classes, and this is a big part of our future, I think, in not only our industry, in any industry where there's support needed. It's always nice to go into a classroom environment and sit and do a class, and where that's possible, by all means do it. But it's also nice to sit in your jammies at 2 o'clock in the morning if you want and do the same class. So at this point, a big shout out to Rachel, who's headed up our virtual classes agenda. And we now have, we've got a few virtual classes up and running now, Rachel. So beginners embroidery was the first one. So for all those folks who've just got their first embroidery machine, fantastic news there. They've watched the class. It's excellent. It goes through a whole process of learning how to do the basics of embroidery. And if you've been embroidering for a long time, I mean, I've had people who've been embroidering for 10 years have done it and said, wow, I've just learned a whole lot more. So it's a really seamless process, professionally videoed, and really good information. So the beginners embroidery was the first one. Then we've got the ScanNCut classes. That's exciting, Rachel, isn't it? Because we've got the new SDX, the brother SDX ScanNCut, and that's basically getting started on ScanNCut process. So I know so many people have bought ScanNCut machines, or cutting machines from anywhere really, but the ScanNCut obviously is the one we love, who just don't take it out the box. And I will tell you, it works a lot better when you take it out the box, and you'll get a lot of satisfaction if you learn a few basics on it, and the virtual classes are a great way of doing that. Not to mention the mountain of online videos that are available for all these things. So please, again, go to our landing page. I don't need to bring it up on the screen now because it's all there on the landing page. I've got so many more things to talk about rather than go through that at the moment, but do visit that. Now, another good thing on the virtual classes, if you have one of the previous models, the first ScanNCuts, which all, by the way, came out in 2013, the CM models, we've also done the beginners class on that as well. So I know a lot of people who have those machines and still haven't taken them out of the box. So probably Denise, yeah. So please check them out. And I think, Rachel, am I correct? We've also done one on cutting fabric, specifically working with fabrics. Because a lot of our customers in the embroidery industry, that's what they bought it for, was to do applique, and it's surprisingly easy when you know how. So again, check those virtual classes out. And we've got a whole mountain of virtual classes scheduled over coming months to bring to market. So really excited by that. And the other thing on support, we can support anyone wherever you are in the world, and we're happy to do that. You know, so for our home audience there, whether you're in the US, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, it doesn't matter. If you have a question, fire it at us, we'll answer it for you. We don't care where you bought your machine. We don't care what your background in the industry is. If you need help, we will help you, and we're happy to do that. Often we've already got a video showing how to solve the problem that you've got. We'll just email you the link and away you go. We also have the ability to easily log into or log into your computer, if you want to put it that way, if you're having a software issue, and we can actually take control of your mouse and show you what to do. It's a really simple process. We do it all the time and we're very good at it. So if you're stuck and you don't know how to do something, don't spend the next 10 hours, 10 days, 2 years lamenting on what you can't do. Contact us and we will help you as best we can. And more often than not, it's a really quick, simple process. And I know you guys here know that's what we do. So, and yeah, you can't see them at home, but they're all going yes, yeah, aren't we? Yeah, okay, good. So it's all about support. We built our business on support, and if you're a first-time visitor to Echidna via this virtual chat, you know, again, welcome, and rest assured, we are here to help and support everyone we can. So, that's a little bit of a synopsis on what's happened over the last year for us. We have grown incredibly, so thank you to everyone who's supported us over that time. And again, a big congrats and a shout out to everyone who's joined the industry as a result of all this. One of the things that happened going back, start of COVID really, was this big influx of new participants to the market. And a lot, not just embroidery too, sewing has, obviously we're strong on embroidery, that's what we do the most, but we're equally as strong on sewing. And we were seeing a lot of people come into our locations, contact us, because, and their question was, I wish I had have learned to sew at school. And people in their 30s going, because let's face it, the school system hasn't done a great job at teaching sewing, I don't believe, anyway, over the last 20 or 30 years. And a lot of folks have come in and said, I wish I had learned. So then, what happens is people go out and they dig out old machines, or they go and buy a cheap machine. I often hear people say, I just want to get a cheap and easy machine to use. I don't believe there's a cheap and easy machine. I think it's an oxymoron. I think normally a cheap machine is probably not that easy because they don't have the cool features that we have today and we take for granted. So we went on a mission with our main supplier, Brother, and hey, I got to say, everyone knows I am an absolute Brother fan. When I started, and 40 years ago, the very first day I started in the clothing factory, guess what was one of the first machines I actually worked on? It was a Brother. I was chuffed because my boss, the senior mechanic there, said, all right, young fella, sit down. Here's the instruction book for this Brother straight stitch machine, industrial machine. Work out how to thread it. Now, we laugh at that. I laugh at that now, but I sat down with this book learning how to thread a single needle machine, and after about an hour, I thought, I did it. Wow. I didn't know anything about sewing machines, so that was my first experience. I do remember thinking, however, that Brother, that's a typewriter company. Wow, I didn't know they made sewing machines. Because in the factory, we also had Mitsubishi sewing machines. I go, they're a car company. There were Toyota sewing machines. They're a car company. What's going on here? So anyway, Brother, as you all know, and I'm sure most of you at home know, they're a sewing machine company that started in 1908, and they are just amazing products. So I love them, always have, and we just have no issues selling Brother products. I'll send them anywhere I like, and I know they're going to work. So I said to Brother, as a big retailer for them in Australia, I really am looking for a machine that we can put to the market that a person learning to sew or getting into sewing is going to be easy to use, is totally reliable, has a great warranty, is cute, is reasonably lightweight, and just pretty much foolproof. So we found the model and we got that exclusively, and that's this little guy right here. So I'm just checking my monitor. I can see it's on screen at the moment. And so this machine is an exclusive model to Echidna. We get it through Brother Australia, and I just want to run through a couple of the reasons why. If you're new to sewing, you're thinking, what should a good starter machine be for me? Or if you know someone who's about to go down this path, make sure they get a machine that is going to do what they need it to do. And I think it's incumbent on us more mature people in the industry to make sure that we do encourage that next generation to continue on. Because the last thing we want to happen is when normal gets back to normal, whatever that normal is, people go, yeah, I had my sort of fling with sewing, don't want to do it anymore. Don't want that to happen, want them to enjoy the experience. So this little model here, I'm just going to quickly run through it, is an NV50S. It is an exclusive model for Echidna. And I'm going, and again, it's all on the landing page that you have the link to. I'm going to just mention why I think this style of machine is good for anyone who's beginning their sewing journey, or even advanced users. If you travel and you just want a good sewing machine in the caravan or whatever it is, this is ideal. The things I look for on an entry-level sewing machine is, one, computerized. I would not buy a mechanical machine now, personally. Most machines are now computerized. Computerized machines are more reliable than a mechanical machine. They are easier to use, so you don't have to set anything. The one thing that lots of things this does well, but the machine has 50 stitches. It's a simple LCD, backlit LCD screen. So that's important because you can actually see the screen pretty easily, regardless of the light that you're in. And choosing a stitch is just a case of turning the dial. And once you turn that dial, it actually sets everything for you. You don't need to adjust anything. You can if you wish, but 9 times out of 10, the basic settings that the machine chooses will be perfect. The things that I would absolutely make as a must-have for someone who is certainly learning is a simple drop-in bobbin system. So there's a couple of options when you're buying an entry-level machine. You can get the really cheapy ones, often have a push-in bobbin case, which on the cheap machines is what we call an oscillating hook. Horrible machines to use on certain fabrics, light fabrics, knit fabrics, jam up all the time. Avoid that. Get a machine that has a drop-in bobbin and is basically jam-proof, and that's what this machine is. It also has the advanced auto needle threader. Now, and I can tell you, this machine sells for $599, so it's not expensive, but it's not cheap. It's a full metal cast machine, and the automatic needle threader on this is the same basic needle threader that you'll get on the machines costing thousands of dollars. It's a brilliant Brother needle threader. They haven't changed it in so long, and you know what the old saying is? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it works, it just works brilliantly. So you've got great needle threading, easy stitch selection, a full metal casting under the cowlings, and it's got a bit of weight to it too. So if you've ever used a cheapy machine, you know, they sort of bounce around and jump off the table, these won't move. They're a DC electronic motor, so that means they've got full needle penetration power. So if you're sewing over the denim jeans or whatever you're doing, over those side seams, it will pierce through without having any loss of power. It has that ability to do it. It also has a speed slide control. So again, if you know a young person that's getting into the market, they've never sewn before, being able to regulate the speed slide to a simple, slow inching speed, regardless of how hard you push the foot control, is really, really comforting. And in fact, I think for all of us, that's actually quite cool when you can do that. So the speed slide's good. It does come with a foot control, or you can choose to use a start-stop button. You don't always need to use the foot control. You can unplug it and bypass that completely. Simple threading and nice and quiet too. But a big feature on this is it's got a what we call a box feed system. So you know, most of us have had machines for many years, and older machines used to always struggle a bit on certain fabrics, and the feed systems on machines have really, really improved. So the box feed system's great machine, but I do want to quickly show you one of the reasons we love it is these machines come with this little box of extras. I'm just going to quickly take that out, and this is something we've added to the equation. It's like Christmas when you get these. You've got so many great things in there. Grab that out, and I should have taken this out before, but I just forgot. I'm going to move that out the way. So it's a bonus pack of about $250 worth, and we'll whip that out just quickly. Move that over there. Comes with a wide table as standard, so that obviously sits on the side of the machine like that. Extends the table out, so gives you a really great work surface. Tape measure, a pack of all the different needles you need, jeans needles, leather, stretch, everything's in there. An extra set of 13 more presser feet, so it's got all the feet that you could possibly need. So that's included. Spool of white and black Resant thread. So the worst thing you can do is get a new machine and you go home and use really cheap and nasty thread. It's like putting very bad fuel in your car. Not a good thing. So that comes with it. Another set of extra bobbins, and this is on top of what's already in the machine. So another set of bobbins, great little pair of scissors, and all that comes standard with that machine at $5.99. It's great. So if you're in Australia, it's available. I can't send this machine outside of Australia, so I'm sorry if you're overseas. But if you are overseas and you want to know what the equivalent similar model would be in your country, just contact us and I'll research it and find out and come back to you and let you know which one to get. So that would be helpful, right? So that's that. And the other machine that is exactly the same as this, and it's a really, really popular machine for us, is the NV180. Now this is the same machine as that, but with more stitches, and it comes with an embroidery unit. So that's included in the box, and a nice big color screen. So it does sewing and embroidery, and this is the sewing only version. And this guy is also a cool product, and I think they're $9.99 or something. So hey, you can't go wrong with that. Would definitely recommend them for anyone starting out, and you guys and you at home could recommend them to anyone that's thinking of getting into sewing and embroidery. Aside from that, our range of machines on our website is huge, from whether it's an entry-level embroidery machine like this right up to the Luminaire, which is just exquisite. We have something for everyone. So what we try to do with any inquiry on machines is we don't have a sort of one size fits all. So we always have great deals, great bonuses, and more often than not, we tailor make every package to suit the individual. What might be right for you isn't right for the next person. So you just talk to us and we will, we will come up with a great package for you. So that's the machines. I'm going to move these off the table now because I've got a few other fun and exciting things to show you. So let me unplug that for a minute, pop them down behind us and unplug that. Move that out of the way. Okay, so I don't need that PowerPoint there now. Accessories. I love little sewing accessories. I can't help myself. It's because someone will send me a sample, I go, yeah, we should get that, yeah. It's like going to a winery though sometimes, and you go to a cellar door and you taste the wine and you go, oh, that's really nice. And then you get home and you think, what was I thinking? I have done that too. So I have literally got a whole heap of stuff in from a supplier and it comes and it's either not what the sample was, and guess what happens to those things? They get thrown out. So I've done that. I've sometimes thrown lots of things in the tip. More often than not, I get it right though. And one of the little products that was fantastic, and we got this in from one of our scissor suppliers, and I might get our overhead camera going in a moment. But we all love scissors, right? So you never have too many scissors. And I've had some really expensive scissors, and then I've got samples of ones that were relatively inexpensive, and this was one of my favorite little guys. So I'll pull this up here. These little red handle curved scissors. Well, I'll get them into screen here. There we go. We're in good shape now. So fantastic little scissors. And Rachel, I know when I gave you these became your favorite product. They were fantastic. Lovely simple curve on them. Really, really good leverage and great for cutting fabric, great for cutting around appliques, but they're just comfy and really, really sharp. And they're really inexpensive. So I can't remember what they are though. I think they're on for $9.95 or something, are they? Well, I hope so. I'll get in trouble in a minute. Do you get a set for being here? That would mean I'd have to send one out to probably 1,000 people. Just see, if you don't ask, you never get. But I don't know, I'll think about it. You could win a set if you fill out the form. Okay. You've probably already got a set at some point. Probably 5 set, no, you haven't opened them yet. Yeah. We do like to have some fun here, folks. If ever you get the opportunity to come to one of our live audiences here, do so because we prattle on a bit, have some fun. It's always good. So anyway, these are fantastic. They're on our landing page, but the company, and we've had those for a while, the company that sold us those sent me some samples of their little thread snips. Now, again, we'll have a more in-depth video on these products, but this particular little set of thread snips, they look pretty basic, but what's great about them is they're reversible blades. So the blades can be taken out, reversed around. So you've actually, and a spare set of blades as well. So there's four sets of blades in this, and they're really sharp, but they're so sharp at the tip that they're very, very easy to slide in under even the most difficult little bits of thread. You know when you get a design that has got jump stitches all over the place, it happens, and then you go, oh my goodness, I've got to now trim all these away. It can be rather painful. Probably the best little set of sharp scissors that I've seen for getting in and digging out those errant jump stitches. So would definitely check them out. They've only just gone up on our website, so they're now available, and I think they're only $9.95, so particularly good. Yeah. So they're new. What else did I have to talk about? Rachel, we got in finally our new stiff specialty felt, and we've called it all sorts of names. I promised I would not say anything on air that is inappropriate, so I won't. But this is the new stiff specialty felt. Everyone's laughing here. I got to be careful. It's available in black and white. Now, the good thing about this is that it's great for badge making. It's great for as a stabilizer in bag making, and anywhere you just want a good base to stitch on. We actually like it for photo stitching too. So if you do a lot of photo stitching, it gives a really great base for that. It is 1 metre by 50 centimetres. We did just have a question, how stiff? Oh, it is. It's 260 grams GSM. So it's quite heavy.
No, what's the thickness of it?
Well, they don't measure it in millimetres. It'd be about 2 mil, 2 to 3 mil, but it's a 260 GSM, so that's kind of the way. But it's great as a bag stiffening and for badge making. In fact, I'm going to show a little bit of badge making stuff on the computer in just a few moments, because badges are really back. Everyone's making badges at the moment. If you haven't, then you're actually not in with the in crowd. So you need to make badges. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this is only $14.95 a roll, I think. Yeah, it's pretty good value. So that's now back in stock for the first time. And another product that is a huge seller for us, and because I'm going to be talking about badge making in a moment, is the hot melt film that we have. So if you do decide to take up my advice and get right into badge making, you do want some hot melt film. So this is what you would apply to the back of the badge, and it gives you a permanent adhesion once you iron it onto wherever you're going to iron it onto. You may want to also add a running stitch around it, if just to really secure it, depending on where you're actually attaching to. But the hot melt film is available. Again, we'll I think, is that on our landing page? I might have sprung you on that, but no, it is good. And we also have the hot melt. Sorry, that was the hot melt film. Yes, so hot melt film. Talked about that. Really easy to use. It's just requires a hot iron. It's got a backing paper on it. You iron it onto the back of the badge and peel the backing paper off when you want to apply it to wherever you're applying it to. It also cuts brilliantly on the ScanNCut or any cutting machine, as does the stiff specialty felt. It's great. If you have the right software and you can create a cut file for your appliques or badge making or whatever, you can, and particularly on the new ScanNCut DX with the auto blade, you can cut your badge shape using the auto settings, and then just simply put your hot melt film down and cut exactly the same shape without changing anything. The auto settings just means it goes from one to the other. You don't have to think about it. Super, super easy. So,
Can I just ask you a quick
yes.
question? With the hot melt film, is that to cover up the threads on the back of the badge, so it's
No,
or it's just
no. So the hot melt film, the question is, what does it do? Does it cover up the threads? Well, of course it will, because you're ironing it onto the back, but it's what you then use to, because it's a double-sided hot melt film, you're using the hot melt film to actually attach it to whatever item or apparel or piece of or article that you plan to attach the badge to. So, and that of course then secures everything on the back of the badge, because it's now stuck down to the fabric. We do have videos on YouTube. We've got lots of videos on YouTube. I mentioned that before. If you go to a product that we have on our page, we will almost always have any associated videos that we've created attached to that product page, and it's worth watching them. Whether you're our studio audience or our people at home, please, please, please make YouTube your friend if you haven't already done so. Whatever you want to know is on there, and I have so many conversations we as a team have conversations every week with so many people here around the world, and all we have to do is often just send you the link to a YouTube video to solve the dilemma that you might be facing. The key with YouTube is to phrase the question, and sometimes you might get weird answers, so you get good at that. Be careful with the words you use is all I can say. It can be a bit extreme sometimes, but YouTube is fantastic. There's so much information on there. So, so that's the hot melt film. Now, another thing I just wanted to cover off on, and again, it leads to accessories, machine accessories, is needles. And I'm just bringing this up because it's one of the most common inquiries we get every week, and often from folks who've been embroidering for years and years and years, and then they tell me, well, I was told to use this needle, I was told to use that needle, and I sit back and go, oh my goodness, where's all this information coming from? The first thing to say is there's probably no absolute right or wrong. If you do something and it works for you, then do it, right? But if it's not working, don't do it again. it doesn't change anything, you know. So one of the things I wanted to point out, sure I had a couple of packs here, is when we're talking embroidery, and again machine embroidery, what needle is the right needle to use? 99 times out of 100, I would say to you, use a dedicated machine embroidery needle, size 7511. The reason I'm going to say that to you is they're designed, the eye of the needle is designed to work with an embroidery machine. It's a slightly larger eye than a standard universal needle, and it will handle the different angles that the hoop and the frame move at to ensure that the threads flow smoothly through the needle eye. It will also have a very mild ball point, a bit like a universal needle, but the eye is different, so that's the key. We don't particularly want to use sharp needles, really sharp point needles on embroidery, because all you do is tend to split and damage the fibres as your design's building. The only time I would use, an exception to that, I might use a Microtex needle if I was stitching really fine lettering on a delicate fabric, because I do want the sharpness there. But in general, an embroidery needle will do 99% of everything you want to do. And it leads on, yes.
Hey, Gary, just to clarify, because we've had some people ask about embroidering on leather.
Yes.
So we still use the 7511 embroidery needle then too,
Absolutely.
Right?
A little bit dependent on the thickness of the leather, but again, I've had people come up and say, well, I put my leather point needle in and I did my embroidery and it didn't really work very well. Well, a leather point needle will cut. And so as a design stitches, the spear point on a leather needle will actually cut the fibres of the stitching that you've just done. So you can actually get you will get a much worse result. Generally speaking, you'll be embroidering on an apparel leather, which is usually relatively soft, and an embroidery needle will generally do a fine job. You've got to remember with embroidery needles and the embroidery process is the weakest link is taken out of play, and the weakest link is the operator. So I mean that, I'm serious, because if you're not controlling the fabric, the machine's moving it in a very precise manner. All the needle has to do is go up and down, and as long as it's going through you know, a fabric that can be embroidered, there's not a lot of pressure or damage going to occur to the needle. When we're sewing, however, you're working, you're maneuvering, you're managing the fabric, and it's easy to actually pull, push fabric and actually get bent needles. You know, you bend needles. If you hold fabric back as you're sewing a pair of jeans, needle comes down. As you're pulling the fabric this way, you deflect the needle. That's when it'll crash into the front of the needle plate. You'll damage the needle, you'll break the needle. I'll bet most of you, if you look at your needle plates on your sewing machines, you'll see little pits and things. The machine didn't do that, you did it. It's just how it is, right? And needles also do get stressed after a while, and they will eventually get damaged. Yes, question?
How often should you change a needle on the embroidery?
Okay, great question. How often should you change the needle on an embroidery machine? That's the age-old question. Everyone should know my answer, and it is usually when it needs changing. So how do you do that? Listen to your machine, it will talk to you. If your machine all of a sudden starts sounding very like a real thumping sound, it's often an indication that either it's a really dense design you're doing or the needle has got quite dull. If you get a little, almost like a tapping sound, it's a click, click, click every stitch, it's often a damaged tip. You've got a real sharp burr on the tip. The minute you hear something that doesn't sound right on your machine, whack a new needle in it, it's worth doing. And if it doesn't change, then you know it's something else, or it's just a really dense design. So that can be a problem. Hey, and there are a lot of bad designs out there, or dense designs that are difficult to stitch. If a needle gets stressed, and they do stress, they can fracture for no reason after a prolonged period of use. So some people say every 8 hours. I don't prescribe to that theory. I say when it needs changing, listen to your machine, it will talk to you, look at your results. If you've got messy stitching, looping stitches, bad sounds, then pop a new needle in. Use an embroidery needle for 99% of the occasions. And I also suggest for metallic threads, I would also use an embroidery needle. I would not personally use a metallic needle for embroidery. I find the eye is too elongated and it's more designed for normal straight and back stitching. I like the TNC needles, Triumph needles, they're great. I also like Smets needles, fantastic needles. But there is one little product that I would like to point out in the TNC needle range, and we might show up on camera, don't know. Pull it back there. This guy here, we do have these in stock. So they're an elongated or a slightly larger eye again than a normal embroidery needle, but not as big as a metallic needle as far as the eye goes. And really do recommend them. Great needle to have. But they do say on the listing for embroidery, extra large eye. And they're a size 90 needle, so a good needle when you're running sort of some of the heavier metallics, and nice to have in your kit. So, but honestly, 99% of the time, an embroidery needle 7511 is going to do the job. So I could talk all day about needles, right? We could do a whole podcast on needles, and I still wouldn't get through everything I wanted to talk about. So there are just a few of the cool things that we've just added to the range and thought we'd just talk about. I did mention before I wanted to talk about badge making just quickly, because it is a really popular topic. One of the reasons it's extraordinarily popular is our good friends at Embrilliance Software, and I don't know if Lisa's watching. She probably is, from the USA. Lisa's the international expert on Embrilliance, and of course Brian, the developer. Hopefully he's watching. Hi Brian, if you are. The Embrilliance programs are fantastic. I love them to pieces, but they recently introduced another key feature on their Stitch Artist software level 3, which is basically an auto badge making facility simulating a Mero stitch. Now, I don't know if you've heard of what a Mero is. If you've researched it, you'll know, but a Mero overlocker is they were made back in, I think, the late 1800s. They still make them. They still look like they were made in the 1800s. So they're kind of, old, but they're brilliant. And they create what we call a Mero stitch. And if you've ever seen a commercially produced badge, you've probably noticed it has a perfect badge edging around it. And we've tried to simulate that on embroidery machines, but we don't always get the effect we're looking for because it doesn't look the same as a Mero stitch. Now, a Mero overlocker in Australia, or a Mero machine, sells for about $5,000, and it's a real skill to use it. Like you have to know what you're doing, and you're limited with what you can do. You can't get really acute angles on it. You can only get pretty much squares, circles. Even squares are kind of difficult, but circles and ovals are easy. Well, they're not easy. You've got to learn how to do it. But
Hey Gary,
yeah,
just going to butt in here. Neela Ma
yes,
says, I love this. I'm learning so much. Thanks.
Oh, good. Oh, well, thanks, Neil. I appreciate that. Ask questions if you have them. Happy to answer them. So, yeah, badge making. I'm going to show you a badge that I created. And in fact, we'll get back to our overhead camera. And this was using the specialty felt. I'm going to take all that away. Thank you, Rachel. Excellent. So, this file is online. Did anyone download this and stitch it? We sent it out a few weeks ago. It was just a little project we did, and we actually did a video showing you how to create this little badge if you have the Embrilliance software and the appropriate level, but you can actually download the file and stitch it if you wish. So this little badge here was using just the specialty felt. I then took the same file and stitched it with a light fill stitch, and I haven't trimmed it all off yet, but I will soon, one day. A light fill stitch using the felt, and I also stitched it without any felt at all. And whoops, I'll just get that up there. We've got so many monitors around here, I feel like I never know which one to look at. So, that one there is stitched with no felt. It's just fill stitching. That's the base of the badge. There's nothing else other than the stabilizer that we used. And we used a wash away stabilizer to create that badge. Simply hoop it up, stitch it, wash it out, and you've got a badge done. We then applied on the back the hot melt film, and that badge could be applied anywhere now. This one was using just the felt, no stitching, and still looks good. But the felt probably will get a little bit tatty over time, although it is a hard felt, so it doesn't have that sort of pilling effect that a normal soft felt does. And then we took the felt on this one and we added a light fill stitch on top, and it looks really, really, really good. So then I thought, I'll do a bigger one, and I love this. I wish I was a member of this team. This is the Dodgeball Australia 2016 National Championship, the Springfield Vikings. Has anyone heard of them? No, neither have I. But it sounded cool. I don't know, I was just sitting there, I wanted to do a different shaped badge, and And I can tell you this would be a rather difficult badge to simulate on a Mero machine because of the angles and etc. And it just looks stunning. Let's pull that back up a bit there. And so we just took a design, we added some text in the Embrilliance software, and we just outputted it as a badge, or added a Mero badge stitch, badge edge to it. And that was just stitched on wash away. There is no felt in there, it's just stitching. So when we wash away all that wash away, we're left with a fantastic, relatively soft-handed badge. So it would be good on apparel, it wouldn't be too stiff. And looks fantastic. But you can see the effect of them. Oh, we lost it. I'm going to bring it up on screen in a minute. We're going to have a look at the at how you would create a badge. But the effect of the Mero stitch, it looks good. At the moment, and there's a little tip for everyone, I haven't washed away the wash away yet. So I'm going to take this little brush that I've got here. Now I could just simply go and soak this and it'll be fine, let it dry and it'll be perfect. But if you've never used wash away, I'm just going to put a bit of paper out there. And no, I won't because you can't see it. So I'm going to grab a bit of water. Hot water is better, but if we now just use a brush, we can just continually brush that until that stabilizer will wash away. I'm going to use a bit more water there. And it should, yeah, my water's gone cold, Rachel. But that's all right. But you can see how it's just disappearing there. Has anyone not used wash away? Has anyone in the audience here not used wash away? It's one of the most commonly used stabilizers. It's what we make lace out of. It's the stabilizer I would put on the back of towels because I don't particularly want cut away or tear away on the back of a towel. I would use a couple of layers of wash away, give a good foundation to my towel. And you know, people often say, oh, but towels are thick, they should be able to handle it. Towels might be thick, but they're not that stable. And it's much easier to get a good result if you have a good foundation of stabilizer. Wash away is brilliant. So there, that's all, that little bit's gone there.
About when it's, dab it when it's still in the hoop with the hot water.
Yeah, so
it'll just break away.
If it's under tension in the hoop and you dab it with the paintbrush with some hot water, it will just simply come away because it works a treat. But equally, you could have just put this in some hot water, let it sit for a minute or two, and that would all disappear. Let it dry, and you've got a fantastic badge. So I'm going to, because I want to, I'm going to quickly show you how to create a badge in Stitch Artist because it's so cool. If you haven't seen it, this is going to be interesting. So we're going to see if the technology works. We're going to go to the computer screen now. So I'm back over here. Hopefully the computer, I'll just get camera guy to tell me when we're good. And the computer screen is on. We're good. Okay, so I'm going to open up Embrilliance. Now, I'm not doing a lesson on Embrilliance here. I'm just going to talk about the badge making. But I will tell you that with Embrilliance software, there is so much support online, both at the Embrilliance page, on our site, on the various forums, the Facebook groups. You will never be short of information and knowledge on Embrilliance software. And I'm going to go into the Stitch Artist part of the program, which is the Create tool just up here. And I'm going to now bring in a heart shape. So you have all these built-in shapes in Embrilliance. So there's the heart. Bring that in. I'm just going to make that a bit bigger. I haven't got my hoop turned on, but it doesn't matter for the purpose here. I can see that this is around, at my size down the bottom there, is around about 90 millimeters, which is pretty much what I stitched the other hearts out at. And to turn that into a badge stitch, this is the new tool that will show up in Embrilliance Stitch Artist Level 3 if you have that. Click on that option and we've now created the badge edging. Literally, that is all there is to it. And if we go across to our properties bar, I do have the option of sewing a position stitch, the top stitch, which is the badge edging itself, and I can also show a fabric preview. But most importantly, you have the option of choosing what type of badge are you making. Are you going to cut it when it's complete? My advice is don't do that because you've got to get right in close to the stitching, and yeah, that's hard. You don't want to do that.
Gary, I've got a question about that actually from Anthony. How do you make a badge, then use ScanNCut, and then obviously simulate a overlock edge?
How do you make a badge, then use ScanNCut, then simulate an overlock edge? Okay, so I guess I'm doing that now. You would, I'm going to show you how to get the ScanNCut file to cut the background fabric. So at this point, I've got these options down here. I can cut when complete. I can use a pre-cut shape. Now, if I was choosing to cut my badge fabric, I would select use a pre-cut shape, because that will mean I can go in and then select my applique position and material options. So when I do that, if I go to applique, you'll see I have an option here to save a file, a cutting file. And if I click on save, it will now allow me to save as an SVG file, an FCM file, Studio and SCut form, shortcut files. So ScanNCut is FCM file. So if I save it as an FCM file, I can take that straight to my ScanNCut, cut the actual shape, and that will be the right shape for my badge. So when I go to stitch the badge, it will stitch my position line down. I just simply stick the badge or attach the badge where the position, the placement stitch is. Often I'll use a bit of 505 spray or some sort of adhesive just to sort of hold it in place, and then hit the go button and then continue on completing the badge. So we create the cut file in Embrilliance, and we also create the stitch file. So once we've created that cut file, you know, I could go through and add my text and all the things I want to do there. But now if I just simply go up and save the stitch file in whatever format my machine takes, I've completed the process. So it really is super, super easy to create a perfect, as near a perfect Mero stitch as you can possibly get on an embroidery machine. The stitch is fantastic, it really is. So everyone should get into badge making. I did some badges for my grandkids and they absolutely love them. I don't know where they're going to put them. I know my daughter is really annoyed with me because she's now got to find somewhere to put them. Yes, a question.
What's the difference between a Mero stitch and just standard applique?
It's something, let me zoom in a bit and let's have a closer look. So if I had an applique, a satin stitch is just an applique stitch, or an applique is just a satin stitch, and you really, it doesn't make a great badge stitch. Whereas if I turn the 3D view off on here, can you see how those stitches are formed? It's actually, it's almost a replica of, it looks like a replica of a Mero stitch, but it's actually done using a lock stitch. You've got to understand an overlock or a Mero stitch is actually a form of a chain stitch, not a lock stitch. So it's actually hard to simulate a proper Mero stitch, but they've done a great job. And boy, oh boy, it's hard to pick the difference, certainly to the naked eye. But if I was to, let's start stitching that out on screen just quickly, and let's go back, we'll zoom to all, and stitch that through on there. So there's my placement stitch, my tack down stitch, and we'll come back and start. There's a more tack down, but let's have a look at when it starts to do. Let me zoom in down there. Whoops, don't want that. I'll go down to there, zoom back down to there, and we'll just go through to, can you see how that's forming now? Let me just start stitching that. So it's quite a unique stitch. It's not a satin stitch. It actually has multiple different angles and textures and so on. It's been very, very well thought out. And because you can actually apply it to most shapes, you can get really unique badge shapes. It's quite cool. It's very, very cool. You'll have badges everywhere, as you should. So any questions on badge making at all? Because it's fun, it's easy. And all you need, you do have to have Stitch Artist Level 3. It was a free upgrade in Stitch Artist Level 3. So that information is also on our landing page, I'm sure. Hit us with questions if you have any questions on that. Again, I could talk for days on Embrilliance, but I don't need to, because all the information you'll ever want to know about Embrilliance software is on YouTube channels, our channel, Embrilliance channels. It's all there. It's great software, and it runs on Mac and PC, so that's another advantage. If you're a Mac person, you can run that. So that is badge making. Would thoroughly recommend it. But I mean, look, just quickly, if I took in a really weird looking shape, decided I wanted that to be a badge, I just can't imagine doing that. Let's just select that object again. And why have I, there it is. So getting all those angles in there, I just couldn't do it on a Mero machine. I just can't, it's impossible. So great feature in Embrilliance. So no questions on badge making. Make sure you do go and grab the, if you haven't ever stitched one, just to see what it works like. That file's on our website. You can download it for free. And you're all number one mums, right? So goes as appropriate, yep. I did a few of them for the grandkids, so that's the problem. They've got to go somewhere now. Okay, so another product that we introduced, was it February? I think they finally arrived, is the table here that has this lovely luminaire sitting on it. So for all of you guys at home, if you're embroiderers particularly, you'll probably understand what I'm about to talk about. This is an electric lift table, and I have got perhaps the biggest home sewing machine sitting on there right now. These guys weigh around about 25 kilograms. So anyone who's lugged a big machine to class, it's like, oh, and then if you have a trolley bag on there as well and you've got to lift that into the car, it can be challenging. That's why in our classroom here we have 10 Stellaires for classes, so you don't have to drag everything in. It's not quite a luminaire, but it's pretty close. So why do we bring in an electric lift table? As an embroiderer, and I do quite a bit of embroidery, one of the things, the pet hates I have, is when I'm doing a design with a lot of colour changes. I probably would go to my PR 10 needle machine maybe, but if I've done designs that have got 20 or 30 colour changes, I mean, has anyone done designs that have got up to 70 colour changes? I have, yeah, I call me crazy. Well, that only had 7 colours, so I did it on a 10 needle machine. It was easy. But if you get, some designs can have a lot of colour changes. And I found, if I was doing it on a home machine, that constantly up and down out of my chair, it does my head in, honestly. Particularly as we all get a little bit older, it's like, oh, my back's a bit sore. So we thought, we were approached by the company that makes these electric tables and said, hey, we've designed one for sewing. We'd like you to have a look at it. So here we are, we've imported it. And it allows you to set to any height from 70 centimetres all the way up to 120 centimetres in height. So easy to do. I've currently got this set at, I think it's about 85, but we're going to zoom into our little tiny control panel there, so I hope that people at home can see it as well. Very simple control panel, 4 preset buttons, and I'm going to right now hit number 1, which I had preset to be the lowest setting. So it'll go down to about 70, which is your average sort of standard table height, which might be the ideal sitting and sewing height for you. So, but I could set that position 1 to any position I like. If I want to go up to my next level, just hit number 2, and I think I got that set at 85 centimetres. Which for me is still a bit low. If I'm walking by my machine, colour change, I just want to be able to stop, change the colour and continue walking and doing whatever I want to do. And of course, that's assuming that you're not just sitting there staring at your machine as it's stitching. Right? We all do, right?
Gary,
big question mark.
we've got a relevant question.
Yes?
From Ines McSweeney. Does the
McSweeney?
electric lift table have the strength for a brother 6 needle?
This particular table is rated at 50 kilograms. The Brother 6 needle is around about 40 kilograms. So technically, yes. I think it's a little bit small to put a 6 needle machine on personally, because the depth of the machine, of the footprint of the machine, is right out to the edge. I am working on another solution to the 6 needle machine. So my advice would be not this one. Wait and see what I have coming for the 6 needle machine. It'll be a bit more purpose built for the 6 needle. And don't hold me to a time frame. I'm still working on that. But the manufacturer is talking to us about it. This machine's 25 kilograms, so it's quite comfortable for this. And it's all about the mechanism being able to, constantly do that lift up and down. So it is rated to 50 Ks. So that's 85. Go to the next one. That's going to take me up, I think, to 90. Now I'm getting closer to a really comfortable standing height. Now, the other thing is a lot of people, a bit like office desks, there's an argument for standing and sewing. We've all just taken for granted we should sit, but it's not always the best posture, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, particularly if you're working on a large quilt. And we did this in our video, because we have videos on this too, by the way. And Rachel, that was one of the points you made very, very firmly that that standing height, particularly for free motion stuff, was just, you know, really comfortable and easy to use. So that's at 95, and if I go to position 4, that's going to take me to 110. I'm quite happy with this height because I don't have to bend over. I mean, these are great needle threaders, so I don't have to work too hard to thread it, but if I did and I had to sort of, you know, see what I was doing, it's a great height for me. So I can leave that machine stitching all day long at that height. I decide to go back to sewing, I just push a button, it'll go back to the height I want it at. I don't have to wind cranks, I don't have to change anything, it's just great. And I know some of our audience here have got these tables. Someone said they're in love with it. I think it was, yeah, love is a strong word. So
They're so easy to put together.
they are very, very well made, and they just go together beautifully. One of the things that is nice about them is and you would have seen it, the quality of the powder coating, the quality of the steel. It's all good high gauge stuff, and really simple to use. Now I have a big machine on here, and you'll notice there is a, I don't know if our camera shot's on that at the moment, if we can zoom in and have a look at this area just here. There is a platform here that allows you to put a more traditional style machine at a drop down position. Now what that means is if you wanted to get the benefit of the extended area, and Rachel, we have a tape. I'm just going to run out of shot for a minute. No, I've got it, I can see it right here. And I didn't leave this on because I'm not quite that skinny, but there is also a small extension table here that sits there, and this gives you a slightly wider throw. So if you've got a machine set down, a standard sewing machine set down at one of 4 different positions, it just does help support bigger workspaces and quilts and so on. But the great thing about it is, who has a lot of room in their sewing room? Exceptions to the rule sometimes, purpose built. But if you are limited on space, not having to have that there means that you can have a height adjustable table pretty much in any area. In fact, it's only marginally wider than this table here, which is 100. So it's pretty darn good and very, very easy to use, very well made, and I think the price is great. I think they're $9.99, but there's platinum pricing and all sorts of specials available for this. And of course, you could always get one free. Sorry folks, this is Australia only. If you buy a luminaire, you get one as part of the current bonus package. So it's really good. So, you know, yes, question.
Does it go with the width when you've got your
So good question.
like that?
Good question. The question is, what about the depth of the table when the hoop is on? Now, of course, I'll try to explain this for everyone at home because you can't really see it, but most machines will have quite a bit of depth required for your hoop in the rear position. So when the design is fully forward in the hoop's all the way back, you would normally I would have my machine set closer to the front, and generally speaking, I need to allow about 60 centimeters of depth for the hoop. So the table will probably be off the wall a bit. And that is an issue on all home machines because there's a lot more depth required. So just position the table at whatever position it needs to be so as that doesn't become a problem. It is one of the benefits for a multi-needle machine. You don't have that depth at the back problem. You can come forward with it. So again, wherever you are, talk to, when you're choosing a top-of-the-range machine, and it's a good debate or discussion to have. When people come to us and say, hey, I want to buy a top-of-the-range machine, we will ask so many questions and make sure that what you're getting is going to suit your circumstances. You know, if people are buying a machine and they're only ever going to use it for embroidery, as lovely as the luminaire is, and it's brilliant, it's always worth considering the PR10 needle, the Brother multi-needle machines, because there's arguments both ways. And we would try and find out what's going to be right for you. So, questions are really the way to do that, and discussion. So anyway, that's the table. The folks here who have them, love them. So if you're looking at this going, that would be ideal for me, just contact us and we'll help you out with it. And we will certainly work towards a solution for a bigger space and table for the PR series machines. No questions on that one? All good? Okay, electric lift table. It leads me into talking quickly about something we did recently, which was fantastic, and that was our quilt broidery days. Did anyone here in the audience attend those? And if you great, and we had a great time. We had 10 luminaires set up here in the classroom. We did hands-on stuff. We created some fantastic things, and I'm going to show you what we created, and I'm going to show you how you can actually get one of those files for free by going to our website. So Rachel, I have the quilt embroidery block somewhere. There it is. That's the quilt we did. Thank you. So here's a little sampler quilt that Rachel put together for me. I would love to take credit for it, but I didn't put the quilt together. I did, however, create all the designs. And what's quite unique about this, and we might go to the overhead for a moment, if we can. I'm going to get one of the darker colours. It's kind of weird when you're working upside down. Oh, there's the one I want. Yeah. There. Come back there. There it is. So what's unique about this design is we actually created the design from clip art on the machine. So we used the luminaire and the amazing Brother My Design Center technology to take a piece of clip art, turn it into a stitch file, and while it's a little hard to see on screen, have an automatic quilted background. And I'm wondering whether we have a darker version of that, Rachel. So there's my image. So there's the image we started with as a piece of paper. So it's a printed, that's a print of the JPEG image we had. So we purchased a clip art pack from one of the clip art companies with licensing to use it, and we then took that design and we turned that into a stitch file on the machine. We then, as I said, automatically quilted around it. Now that design is available as part of our the latest free design pack that is on our website, and you can link to that through the landing page, and the complete block in two different sizes to suit 200 by 200 on a 240 by 240 hoop. With the 3 different quilt backgrounds, there was the basket weave, the hexagon, and a stipple stitch, and that block is there on that pack, and you can download that for free and test it out yourself. But what we did with quilt embroidery is we actually did that in store. Everyone created it and turned it into stitches. There's videos on our website showing you how that process worked. Now, if you have a Brother machine and you've got the My Design Center technology built into that machine, and that could be a Dream machine, a Stellaire, the PR1050, the PR1055, or the Luminaire, you have the technology to do this. And if you watch the videos, it does show it quite clearly and how easy it is to do. So that is available, but that whole pack that we created is also available now. And what makes this quite unique is the whole pack is in 2 different sizes, 3 different background quilts, quilt instructions, Rachel, that you've created for it, and also the little instructions for the cushion too. Was that, yeah, so if I grab that. So a great little cushion instruction as well. So that's it there. Looks cool. And I actually added a little extra file there. I put an applique in there as well. All done on the machine. No software required to create any of this. And it's the first design pack that we've ever put to market that was not digitized in software. It was done on a machine. I think that's quite unique. If someone had said to me 10 years ago, oh, you don't need digitizing software to create a design pack, I would just said, you're crazy. How are you going to do that? So really, really cool. And honestly, there's so many folks have Brother machines, not only here in Australia, around the world, that have My Design Center, and you're just not using them. Watch the videos. It's really simple to do. You just got to back yourself sometimes, and you will make some mistakes. But guess what? If you make a mistake, you've only spent 5 minutes trying to create the file. We've all done it in digitizing software. You've spent hours, and then you go to stitch it, and it's just not what you expected it to be. So we don't get that time back. These machines do a sensational job getting that those designs into yes.
Gary, we're releasing that today.
We are. That pack is being released today, and it's going to be only $20. So, and you get, there's a lot of designs on there. So there's 10 different files in 3 different styles in 2 different sizes. So do the math. It's a lot. But for $20, it's a great pack, and you can create a really, really cool quilt. And different colorways, different fabrics would be awesome. So, so that is on our landing page. You can see that. The other thing I just wanted to mention for anyone who has a luminaire, and this wherever you are in the world, one of the, well, do I put it down somewhere and I've lost it? There we go. I did have my little pen somewhere. Don't know where it is, doesn't matter. I used a different stylus than the one that comes with the machine, and if I grab that just quickly. So this is the stylus that comes with the machine, and it's very good, and you know, it serves dual purposes, so you need to use that from time to time. But, no, that's it, I did have it in my pocket. I do that all the time. I lost my keys the other day. They were right in front of me for probably an hour. I looked for them. Anyway, this is the Apex Fusion stylus. We import these directly, and they are a much finer point than the stylus. In fact, can we go to the overhead just quickly, if that's okay? And I'll just put them there. So this is the tip, which is meant to simulate the pad of your finger, because the luminaires have what we call a capacitive screen, so they're very cool and look like an iPad type of screen. Whereas this tip on this one's much finer. So if you do have a luminaire and you're doing any, you know, detailed work, I would definitely recommend the Apex Fusion stylus. And we do have them on the landing page. They're about $69, but money well spent. Charged by USB, and you can charge them directly off your machine. So you just plug the cable into the USB socket, and they'll be always charged for you. So definitely recommend that if you're going to, and that's only the luminaire. If you have a Stellaire or a Dream Machine or a PR, you don't need that stylus. The little plastic stylus that comes with it is just as effective, but they're a different type of screen. They're a resistive screen, not a capacitive screen. All right, and talking of screens, one other product that I think is a little bit more important these days, given the COVID and all the, you know, social distancing and care with transferring bugs and viruses, is the companies have all come out now with antibacterial screen cleaners. I know, but you know, when you think about it, you touch your screen, you leave all your fingerprints there. So we do now carry this. It's about, I think they're about $15 a bottle. Will last a long time. You can use them to clean your glasses, clean your screens. They come with a little cleaner, a screen cleaner in there as well. So it's called the, what is it? Safe Screen Cleaner. Well, that's original, isn't it? No, I was joking. But that's a good product, and I think it's, you should keep your screens clean anyway, so you may as well do it with an antibacterial cleaner to make sure there's no bugs floating around. So that's also available and on our landing page. All right, now the next thing I wanted to talk about is very exciting for us actually. I'm going to get Rachel involved now. Oh, you can take the quilt away first if you like. But otherwise, we're not going to, Rachel's not shy, she doesn't mind getting in front of the camera. Oh, and that one can go. And that one can go. And we are now going to talk about a product range called Outback Embroidery. Now, many of you would have heard of Outback Embroidery as a design range. Glenn Harris is the digitizer. Glenn I've known for, I'm going to say 20-something years, and we were sort of a little bit involved with Glenn when he first went from the commercial embroidery industry into the domestic embroidery industry, and then he just went off like wildfire and sort of did his own thing, did a great job, had a huge range of designs, and he's deserved the right to go on a bit of a semi-retirement thing. So Glenn has decided to go and travel Australia and do all the things, and when we found out, we reconnected and said, hey, well, if you're not going to be you know, out there doing it, let us help you, and we'll get your designs out there and make sure that it continues on. And we came to agreement. He was happy, we were happy, so we're now ranging the Outback Embroidery design range, and that is what that quilt on the back wall here. Doesn't it look stunning? I knocked this up in a few moments. No, I didn't. I wish I could. I'm not a quilter. Rachel, however, is a quilter. And Rachel, this is great. And this is, what do we call this one? A shadow block, is it?
Yeah, it's a shadow box quilt.
Yeah, it looks great. The designs blend themselves beautifully to that. And I'm going to put a close-up here, and if we go to the vertical, the overhead camera. So there is an image. Now, you guys out here can't see that. That's for the, but you can see the quilt, right? So if you're at home, this is one of the designs. They're beautifully simplistic in the way they stitch out, but they are stunning when stitched. And that pack is in fact the Spirit of Australia Pack 1, I think. Yeah. So, and there are 32 different Outback scenes in that one pack alone. And like for $29.95, terrific value. They stitch beautifully. They're simple stitch outs. They're quick, and you don't get any of the inherent problems where big, dense stitch outs in big areas. They're just great. And the different colorways, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the good thing about the Outback design range is it's all downloadable now. We've got, so far we've got 137 of the packs up on our website and fully downloadable. And there is a special on them at the moment, so we're doing that for the next 2 weeks. You buy 2, get 1 free. So they're already inexpensive, but that just makes them even more affordable. So we have a question, do we, down there?
Diana Fitzgerald, is there directions for the shadow box with Outback? And the answer is there is going to be very soon.
Yes, so Rachel only just finished the quilt. So yes, the answer is Rachel has assured me she's going to make a simple set of directions for doing that particular.
I will, so that you can actually use it not only for the Outback designs, but also for any machine embroidery that you choose, that you might have, because it really shows it really well.
the designs you want, choose the colours.
Don't forget the thread I use, Gary, because you know
Yes.
I'm in love with the mercerised cotton.
We do. So often we just simply gravitate to our normal embroidery thread, right? Because it's what we do, whether it's a polyester or a rayon, and you know, there's all sorts of different brands, and most of them are pretty good, so we're not going to talk about different brands now. But there is another thread, and that's what Rachel has used here, that we've been selling for a long time, and it's called Soft Light Mercerized Cotton Thread. And in the right application, mercerized cotton has a really rustic look to it. It's a flat thread. It's not got that sort of luster that you're going to get out of polyester or rayon thread. And it just looks sensational in the right circumstances. So yes, the range of mercerized thread, 3,000 meters there. It's good value. It's great for lace making too. If you're into lace, but you want a nice soft hand to the thread, that drapes well and doesn't look too garish as far as that luster that you're going to get with your standard polyester embroidery thread. Mercerized cotton is great. Okay. Only thing with mercerized cotton, any cotton thread, you do want to make sure that you clean your machine more regularly, because cotton will leave lint. That's what it's going to do, as opposed to polys that leave far less towards nothing. So just clean your machine more regularly. But the mercerized cotton, I think there's 20 shades available in that size. Excellent thread, and it does just give that nice rustic look on the design. So that's available now, the Outback embroidery designs, huge range, and it's going to continue to grow as Glenn gets more of the product to us. So check it out, and I expect to see some samples from our local customers here of Outback embroidery quilts in different colourways. I'm sure you've probably done a gazillion of them. Yeah, absolutely. And you know
Gary,
what? It is.
Sorry, I was going to say, don't forget the new quilt that I'm making that I quickly showed you.
Yeah, I was going to get you over here anyway, Rachel. Do you want to bring that little pile of stuff over? Because, you know, I'm a sewing machine mechanic by trade. That's what I did. I love embroidery, but I'm not the strongest quilter in the world. So, and I openly admit it. But that's why Rachel's here. Yes. So thank you, Rachel, for coming on. Now you've created a whole new set of blocks here.
I took the Outback alphabet. So this is an Australian alphabet, which is really cool. Don't know if you can see it overhead.
We might need to do the overhead camera. I can do that if you like while you're talking.
And I've stitched them out in this green because I think it looks really native and Australian. And then, of course, you know, we all have a fabric stash, don't we? So I found the right fabric in my stash that goes with it, and I'm going to make an alphabet quilt for
so that's
for
that
fun.
thread.
And that's the thread.
Yeah, it looks
stitched out.
great. So it's not shining back at me. It's just got that lovely flat sort of rustic
That's what
feel.
I call matte. That spells a word, Gary. Do you reckon?
I'm
Do you know what it is?
going to look at this. So we've got an ID. Ah, very good. Oh, and of course this is the piece de resistance. It's an Echidna. Can we?
So
we need the yeah.
Overhead?
There we go. We need the overhead, I think. There we go. He's a cute little Echidna. So, I mean, this would be a great quilt to, if you had a name or someone like that, and you just wanted to get different colours. You can do so much with it. much easier to do that with a single colour design, isn't it?
Absolutely. And also, you know, it's so Australian. That's what I love about it, the colours, and it's really good for kids to teach them the alphabet, you know, A, B, C, D.
I know, right? Yeah. So anyway,
But what I wanted to show you, this is my
Yes,
favourite
okay.
thing.
Do you want me to hold the microphone? Yeah.
Well, that was kind of, you know, when I went to Kimberbell, I want to show you the best thing that I think came out of it for me, and this is their nesting orange pop rulers. And I think if you can see on the overhead that this is the letter F here for film guy or
film guy.
fruit bat, whichever one you want to choose. But what they do when we use them with our rotary mat, and I absolutely love this. This is our rotating rotary mat, so it just spins around. It allows me to line up my rulers, and I can take this one out, and this is where I'm going to cut, because they're all about I think 6.5 by 8.5. Take my rotary cutter and just cut through here.
So I noticed these have got like the slots are elongated.
So you can cut past. That's one. You do have to use it more vertically than you would a normal rotary cutter, but you can see I'm not really trying too hard, although the microphone kind of is in the way.
Oh, sorry.
And then I just pull that out. And so then I have it perfectly cut. Nesting orange pop rulers, this is my favourite tool.
Yeah,
With the rotary cutter
you
mat.
did rave about it when you came
I
back
did.
from the US, which she almost didn't get back from the US, by the way, folks. And if you're over in the US, you would know the Kimberbell function you went to was pretty much the same time
Yep.
that the COVID outbreak. And we were actually worried because I don't know, how's she going to get back? Like
Also, they looked at me strangely when I came back, like, oh.
yeah,
are
we
you-
stayed
what
away
are you-
for a
what's
while.
wrong?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
got back, which
I
was
got-
great, and we've done we're doing great with Kimberbell, and it's been a great product for us. So
Well, this is obviously
Yeah.
Vintage Boardwalk was one of our most popular projects that we did last year, and it is one of our virtual classes as well that's still available.
excellent. So what else do we have? That's going to you're going to turn that into a great
That's
example.
going to be a quilt, and we will have the instructions for this one as well. Once I've written them, we will put them up on the web.
Excellent, excellent.
That takes a smaller rotary cutter.
It does. So it does use the smaller.
28
Actually,
mil.
I haven't used the 45. I have some people seen them use it, but I've used the 28 mil because it's more comfortable and I think it's easier into the slots. You could probably use a smaller one as well.
So obviously that comes out, so you can do different
Yeah, so
size
there's-
options. Yeah.
Yep, and also, so this is the rectangular set. It does come in a square set as well. So with this one, I use the square set to
Excellent.
square up my blocks.
And speaking of quilting, one of the other products that came out recently from Brother was a really cool new walking foot. So the dynamic walking foot. Let's grab that and grab that. Might move all this away and this away. And we'll move that away. Oh, we can do it on top of that. No, yes we can. We'll leave it there. Don't be indecisive, Gary. Just do it. Okay, so we had also a standard walking foot there. So we've all seen the different walking feet that are available. Some machines have a built-in feed in the machine, but generally there's also walking feet available. Brother machines, particularly in the high-end range, have usually most of them come with the Move It walking foot, which is the digitally controlled, I like to call like a tractor wheel type of foot. Oops, put that down there. And it is sensational, but sometimes there's still a need for a standard walking foot. And so late last year they brought out this new dynamic walking foot. It looks like a standard walking foot, but it is super, super heavy duty compared to the standard type of product, which is, this is about almost twice the weight of this one, so it's much more robust. But it's the first walking foot that they've had that will actually also feed backwards. So one of the things you're told when you use walking foot is don't go backwards because the mechanism doesn't really allow for it. This will. And of course that means that on your decorative stitches,
Absolutely.
where you've got
You
that
can
forward-backward movement,
Although serpentine stitch used on this quilt, but you could use more decorative stitches really easily with the dynamic foot.
and it gives you that perfect alignment. So you know all those decorative stitches that you've got that do have that backwards, forwards, or side, you know, that is going to do it, and you're not going to damage the foot. So really good, and about half the noise level of your standard walking foot. So really a robust product. I can see everyone here in the audience going, oh, hallelujah. Look there, yes, question. Yes, you can use that on the luminaire. Is the dynamic walking foot used on luminaire? Yes. You will need to use the shank adapter.
You do, but it's a 7mm, so if your machine is 7mm, you can use it on any machine.
Yeah. So
Even another brand, I would expect.
pretty much so. Yeah. Most of the Genomes and the Brother would be very similar. Yeah. Yes.
Saying you can use it on any machine, can you use it on that small one?
Yes. Yes, if you have one of those little machines I talked about at the start, the MV50S, perfect, and it will give you great feeding. And combined with the box feed system that that Brother now have on all these machines, and I'll just reiterate on that. When we talk about a feeding mechanism on a machine, and you know, most watching would have sown at some point, I hope. The feeding system, your feeders sort of go under the plate and they come up and they traditionally come back and they work on an elliptical sort of motion. So you get the maximum feed at the kind of the center stroke of the feeding process. A box feed system comes across, the feeders go up, they move it, they come back and they go in a box motion. It's a very positive feed system, and it does give you a much more fluid feed, particularly for difficult fabrics and carrying through heavy seams or where you've got just, you know, just not simple to sew. The box feed system is great. And the Brother machines now, as opposed to say 10 or 15 years ago, have a longer feed ratio as well. So the feed teeth are longer, the presser foot is longer, so you do get a much more secure feed. And that combined with this little foot, it's just fabulous on any machine you might have. This also has a detachable, we can still see it on screen. So you get two sole plates with it. You get an open toe and a closed toe. Oops, come down there. So a little bit hard to see on the background there. Let me put that bit of fabric behind there, then you might see it a bit better. Gosh, always go backwards. Yeah, so open toe as opposed to a closed toe. Now, the only thing, the open toe gives you more visibility, but you know, open toe on certain fabrics, light fabrics, you tend to get a bit more flagging of the fabric, so that can cause you other problems. So you only use that where you've got good stability in whatever you're sewing, because you don't want fabric flagging. And I mean, I'll just mention that now. I've used the term. A lot of people may be sitting at home going, what is he talking about? Flagging. Flagging is the process when the needle, as it's going up and down through the fabric is actually moving up and down with the needle. Very common in embroidery, particularly on machines where the presser foot height has to be set at the right level. It's the most common reason that we see for embroiderers who are experiencing thread shredding. There's video on our website about fabric flagging. You should watch it, and why your thread shreds. It's almost 90% of the time it's probably going to be flagging of the fabric. It's a term we've used in the commercial industry. It's one of the first terms I learned when I started 40 years ago, was flagging. And most people never taught about it. You know, it's just something that most people aren't aware of. I have had machines come in here where people have said to us, oh, this machine just has been breaking thread forever. I go through the process of teaching them how to set presser foot height, and all of a sudden the problem is gone. And flagging is very important. So, and that applies in embroidery or sewing. It will cause misstitches. And if you do get continuous range of misstitches, you will get thread shredding. So, yes.
Gary, Debbie's got another question. So the stitches you use would not be wider than 7mm?
Good question. The machine, you know what, I haven't tried it yet, to be honest, but I'm just feeling this, and it has got a bit of lateral throw, so it probably would be okay. Can I test that and give an answer at a later time? I have a feeling it would be fine. Many machines these days have the ability to sew sideways, and
we will
test that and answer that question for you. So we'll definitely do that. Yes, today hopefully. No pressure, right? All right. So that's the foot. It also, I think it comes with a little screwdriver, doesn't it, as well? Yeah. So a great little screwdriver for changing it over, and they're only $124, so they're quite good. Now, I'm quoting prices too. If you're in the USA or some other country in the world, the prices I quote are Aussie dollars, including taxes. So it'll be very different wherever you are. So you need to check with your local supplier, local retailer. So, so that's the dynamic walking foot. And the last thing I had on my list to quickly mention was the Pintor pens.
Forgot about
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Rachel's going to slap me. That's probably wrong, isn't it? Shouldn't have said that. Oh, there we go. So the old slap band. So these guys are great for wrapping around your stabilizer. Now, we've got a rather large slap band in the Echidna brand, but recently also Kimberbell released their range of stabilizers, and they also have their pack of slap bands. So this is a bit larger for much more bigger rolls of stabilizer, but these are great because they've got labels on them, and you would use them on the whatever. Oh, thank you. Oh, she's already got some open. I don't need to open that. So this is a wash away slap band, because let's face it, storing your stabilizers is always fun, right? And all you do, that one says wash away topper. So this is the, I'll take that one off and get rid of that for a minute. This is our Supersolve topping, and we'll just wind that back up. Really, really simple to use. You just go slap, holds them together like that. Isn't that great? What a great idea. So that's particularly good value, the pack of 13, I think, isn't there? 13 bands, all differently coded. And on the landing page, you can check it out. But I love that. Good products from Kimberbell. And we are going to be carrying some of the stabilizers from Kimberbell as well. But we also have obviously our own range of stabilizers. And some of our more bulk rolls will need the bigger, longer slap band. They're a bit dangerous. No, they're not. No, they're not. They work really great. But there you go. So slap bands from Kimberbell. There's always lots of things happening with Kimberbell. And I guess it leads on to the next thing. If you're not on our mailing list, or if you're not receiving our emails, which chances are if you're watching this, you probably are. But if you've been directed to us by a friend or something and you're here watching, when you go to that landing page, fill out the questionnaire form, but I think there's an option there to make sure that you do receive our emails. The world has changed. We're not sending anywhere near as much printed material out now for obvious reasons. One, it's ridiculously expensive. And secondly, we're all conscious of saving resources and so on. And email correspondence and social media correspondence is the way it is all done now. So please check your spam folder if you're not receiving our emails. It's usually that's what's happened. We've been, for whatever reason, it's gone to spam. And if it's not there and you're still not receiving them, contact us and we'll look into it and see why that's not happening. But it's the surest way to know what's going on, and also take advantage of any of the fantastic specials that we do from time to time. Okay, so I was going to quickly mention another cool product that we've had for some time, and only because they brought out new colours, and that is the Pintor pens. And we had a, there we go. So Pintor is a product by Pilot, which are incredibly cool paint pens, if you like, and you can use them on fabric. They're quite permanent. In fact, you can use them on just about anything. And if you go again on our landing page, you can link to the website, and it actually has a great catalogue showing you all the different things you can use these pens on. You could paint rocks with them, or you could paint your fabric. Yes, it's incredible. There's a lot of use. I took home a whole heap of colours, again for the grandkids, and everything was painted Pintor, including their beautiful white sneaker type things, joggers. That got me in trouble. But it looked really, well, Peyton's looked really good. That's the little girl, but Parker, the little boy, his were really horrible. But he loved them. Yeah, anyway. So they work very easily. You give them a shake. They actually had paint in there. Give them a shake. And if I was going to, are we on the overhead? Let's come back a bit, just there. If I was just going to paint that little leaf there. So they're kind of good to use with outline designs, and you can blend them as well and bleed them a little bit. But it's as simple as just painting what you want. So great for getting like a watercolor effect if you bleed them out a bit. With a bit of water, you can actually just wash it out. Once you hit that with an iron, it becomes a permanent color. So you just heat set it with an iron, and I wouldn't go throwing it in with bleach or anything like that, but just normal, you know, as you launder any sort of delicate, it will give you a great result. It's quite, gives you longevity. Great for just enhancing a t-shirt or on sneakers, anything you want to do, but you can use it on glass, timber, plastic, rocks. I didn't know there was such a thing as rock painting, as big as it actually is. Yes, question here.
How do you heat set a rock?
Great question. Rub it really hard. No. How do you heat set a rock? Put it in the oven. Yeah. So, and there's actually, that Pintor have a complete downloadable explanation on all the things you can do and how you actually set it.
So if you put it on glass,
Heat set it in an oven again. Yes. It's absolutely, all the information is there. And we've got some questions coming up behind us as well.
We do, Gary. So Selena would like to know, will the Hemingworth thread cabinet sit underneath the table if it's at its highest point without hindering the mechanical parts? She wants to put a V2200
We will check that.
on.
It might not sit at the very lowest point, so I'd have to check that. But great question, and we will actually put that information on probably the cabinet page maybe. I don't know. I'm looking at my marketing manager Nicole, going, "Yeah, let me think about that."
And she wants Selena just wants you to confirm that it will hold her V2200.
Absolutely, 100% perfect for a V2200. Yes, perfect. Yes, we've got a lady in the audience with one on there, so, and another one, so it's all good. Great table, and I think we have, we've got stock, yep, so there's no dramas in supplying those at the moment, so all good.
There's one more question,
Yes?
probably for me too, Gary. Are there instructions for the Disney Princesses quilt, or are you good enough to create that yourself now, Gary?
Me create a quilt? I'm sure if I put my mind to it, I could, but you guys work me so hard, I don't get time to do that.
I'll just let you know, because that is a WIP.
Okay.
A WIP, it's a work in progress, and yes, it's coming as well.
Okay, so it is coming. So yes, Joanne, it is coming. Rachel said that, okay? So we'll hold her to it. But if you have one of the Disney machines and the My Design Center, that is totally achievable and really, really simple. Again, we have loads of videos explaining that My Design Center technology, and we'll have lots more to come. So one of the things we want to take away from this virtual Cuppa Chat, from everyone, our audience here and everyone at home, is what you want from us. What do you want to see from us? Give us that feedback, because we do have a list a mile long of things to do, but the more feedback we get, we can collate that and say, all right, we've got way more people requesting this type of thing, so that's what we'll try and aim to do, is satisfy that demand. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the resources, we have and the eagerness to actually do all this. So if you feed us that information, that's really, really, really helpful for us. So anyways, that's the Pintor pens. Now, the reason I wanted to show these, I think we had one open, didn't we? I wanted one of the new, is that the neon? No? Oh, okay. So they release neon colours now. So neon colours, of course, reflect light very well. So if you were to use these on apparel that you're going to go into a blue light, you know how you all go to a blue light disco, right? Yeah. You could really look great. So if you, again, this is, and I should say they come in, the new ones only come in 2 nib sizes, but the rest of the colours, there's 24 shades. 4 different nib sizes, and it makes them a fantastic product to fix your embroidery bloopers. I know that everybody watching this probably never makes mistakes. So we all make mistakes. We've all had designs where we've stitched it out and we've just, whatever registration was wrong, or you didn't hoop it correctly, or the design just wasn't quite right, and you just need to fill a little bit of colour in. If you have a good range, basic range of these Pintor pens, you can easily touch up areas within the design just to make sure that little blooper doesn't look so bad. It's much better than using one of the Nico pens or the oil-based pens for doing it, a Sharpie or that sort of thing. Much, much better for that. So this is a neon colour.
You can heat set it.
Well, that's right. Once you heat set this, it's quite permanent. So we're back on the big screen. So I haven't even played with the neon colours yet, but if I wanted that area there, I can see it here. You can't really, the camera doesn't do it any justice, but it's so easy to do. As long as you can colour between the lines. I'm struggling. Not something I do a lot of these days. Oh yeah, I do have one of them. I've got to turn the lights out though to get the effect. But That looks orange on screen, but I can tell you it's really quite bright neon. So big yell out from the audience here. Is that neon? Yes. So if you're at home, trust me, it's neon. And there's a whole new range of neon colours. It's all on our website. These are a great product though. And they're only like $4.95, less your platinum discounts. And if you're a creative person, you can have so much fun. I can remember my mother used to have these millions and millions of, I forget the name of them, but they were like fabric paints. Oh no, before then. No, this was going back 30 years. Hobbytex, yeah. And she spent a fortune on it. She never used them. So please don't do that. Buy them and use them. It's much better. But there's a great range of colours available. And look, that's pretty much, that's all we wanted to talk about today. If there's any other questions, fire away right now. If there's anyone at home has a question, fire away.
Forgot about the EBs.
Oh my goodness, yes. How can I do that? We've got some friends who've come back to us. We're out of stock for a while, but Embroider Buddies. So we've got a lot of our favourites back. So these guys are great. If you've never embroidered one of the Embroider Buddies, I'll quickly sort of talk you through it. But the Embroider Buddies come from the Canadian company, which is Parkdale Novelty. And these guys are fantastic. They're beautifully made. They are Australian approved for child safety, and that's important. You've got to make sure if you are doing anything like this commercially, you should always make sure that whatever you're supplying to the end user does meet and tick all the boxes, particularly for child safety, for obvious reasons. But Embroider Buddies, if you're new to embroidery and you've never seen this, you just pull the pods out of the machine, and then we basically hoop this guy up. I have videos showing you how to do this. You can watch it on there. But once you hoop this, and trust me, it doesn't hurt the animal at all. Once you hoop it, you can embroider anything you like on it. You can even do these on that small little $999 NV180.
So Gary, we'd use a 4x4 hoop, wouldn't we?
Yes, use a 4x4 hoop. So anything bigger than that is a challenge because you've only got limited space in here to do it. But again, watch the videos on how to do this. Our website will show you all the different styles that are available, and they make a great gift. They're very personal, and doing subway art on there with birth dates or celebrations. I should do one. Oh, we have got one, haven't we? Yeah, Ellie the elephant. So Cooper Riley. I don't know who Cooper Riley is, but so that is got subway art on there, and I'm sure that will be a keepsake for some little child somewhere. That's Ellie the elephant. I do like the names they give them. Okay, we're going to hold it up. Yeah, on that camera. So there we go. He's cute. Hello. Okay. We'll put Ellie Elephant back down there. But there's a ton of different titles there. And having a hooping station is a good idea for one of these. Again, the video will explain that. That's maybe another subject we'll do at another time. And I guess that's probably going to wrap us up.
Gary, can
Yes.
I just ask that we really, really love feedback. So anyone that's virtual or watching,
Yep.
if they can make a comment or let us know.
Please do. Please do.
Also about the loss of,
Yeah, please do. The feedback we're looking for. Question over here first.
Do you recommend having a mat underneath your embroidery machine?
No, you don't have to. Like if you're on a good table, it's not that important because your machine. So the question is, should you have a mat under your machine? You don't have to. It's not going to make a big difference if you're on a solid table. Sometimes it can actually go against you because some people put mats on under that are too thick and they just got too much bounce in them. So you really want a table that's quite solid. It's not going to rock around. I will say this much. A very common problem, and we see it all the time, is machine tables that do bounce a lot. People running their machines at a high speed. Once the machine gets a bit of a wobble up, the hoop starts to float up and down like this. I'm sure you've all seen it. Your hoop bouncing up and down. That will cause flagging. Flagging causes thread shredding. Thread shredding causes thread jamming. Just painful. You don't need that. So, and the enemy of anything mechanical is vibration. So if you're on whatever table you're on, if your machine starts wobbling around, slow the thing down. You don't want it wobbling and you don't want your hoop bouncing up and down. So these mats here are supplied by Brother. Obviously they're a merchandising thing as well. They're quite thin. They don't have too much thickness to them. and they're more they're aesthetic as much as anything else. They do also protect your bench top. So if you're on a a bench top that you don't want to have marked or whatever, then yeah, sure, put a mat underneath it. I wish I could get these as a saleable item, but they're not that readily available. But yeah, does that answer that question? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, feedback's important. We'd love to tailor these virtual events to suit more and more people around the world, and it's not only in Australia. We're happy to help anyone, and very, very happy to answer any questions that people have. So please give us that feedback as best you can. And on that note, I think there's it's great to see products I haven't seen yet. Well, that's a great comment. Great to see products you haven't seen yet. A lot of people don't have the option of going into a local store, and so you don't get to have a live interaction. And I think that's one of the things we want to actually open up to so many folks around Australia and around the world. And obviously showing new products and things that are available is a big part of that.
Gary, Debbie Challingworth says, I absolutely loved it. Please have more.
We will do, Debbie. Thank you for your comment. Yes, definitely will. Thank you. We actually love doing this. So as you can see, I don't mind talking. And so everyone's at the back going, yeah, wind it up, wind it up. Okay, I will. I will. And on that note, I shall wind it up. Thank you again. Oh, sorry.
Before we have a question
I
here.
was just wondering, like, are you planning to have these regularly, like every 2 months, every month?
Yeah. The question is, are we planning to have these regularly? The answer is definitely yes. Sometimes it's about having enough to talk about too, and the time to do it. We are very committed to the virtual experiences and increasing our ability to have more and more video content and education up online. I would like to think there'll be opportunities when we do just get a new product, we would be able to say to everyone, hey, we're going to do a half an hour introduction live, encourage that interaction. It may not be as sort of lavish in this set, we might do it in our studio, but that's something that we would be aiming to do. And whether 100 people tune in or 1,000, it doesn't really matter. It's not that difficult for us, provided we have the right information and the right setup. But again, we'll go by the feedback. So the more people that give us feedback, the easier it is for us to decide on what's the best way to go. But we're committed to it. And for those of you who are new to Echidna, our business has been around for almost 30 years now. I'm 40 years in the industry. We're not going anywhere. We're just committed to another huge warehouse. We're going to expand our product range considerably. And a large part of that is just on the back of the changes from COVID and the online sales and all the things that people are experiencing. So on that note, the wind up is definitely coming for me. Thank you to my audience here. Thanks guys for coming. Thank you for participating. And a big thank you to everyone at home for logging in and wherever you are in the world and spending 2 hours with us. Really appreciate it. Look forward to your feedback, and we will see you again soon. Cheers. Bye for now.